Todd Valdo.
I'm a terrible public speaker, so I'm going to turn my back to everybody.
Maybe put this over here so you can sort of see the.
I don't want to see this. My name is Todd Baldo. I live at 182 Coventry Lane in Harpers Ferry. My family gets its water from Jefferson Utilities, and our home is part of the Meadowbrook water system. And obviously there's a lot of emotion in the room tonight, and I just want to take a quick break to offer my personal thanks to Ms. Widmeyer for taking the initiative and actually moving this issue forward. Everyone knows this has been a long simmering issue, and I just want to express that as much as you hear the complaints from everybody, I think we do owe you a great debt of thanks for trying to address the very real problems of the three systems on the mountain, Keys Ferry Acres, Harpers Ferry Campsite, and Westridge Hills. I personally appreciate everything you've done in that regard. And
Full commission.
well, and candidly, I think the leadership that you've shown is exactly what we asked for in our public officials. And as a civil servant myself, we hear all the complaints, so sometimes you need to hear the positive feedback as well. And I very much appreciate what you said earlier about trying to keep the public hearing tonight focused solely on the $1.5 million Small Cities Block Grant. And in a perfect world, I wish the folks from the District 9 Development Authority could say to the County Commission that we give you a written absolute guarantee that if you get this money, that you could spend it in the manner in which you please and not be locked into what the Development Council or the way the grant is written, because I think that sort of flexibility and freedom is really what's needed here. I think what you're hearing from the people tonight is that the proposal being offered is not popular, and that's an understatement. I think the proposal makes clear that while the block grant we're talking about this evening would lower the costs to be borne by the ratepayers, it still would be a very, very high rate. Now, as I mentioned, I get my water from Jefferson Utilities. I'm one of those people who have $100 a month water bills. And actually, I mean, you can see it. It's a real one, not like Ms. Nolan's. It was, for water and sewer. This is legitimate, just water. Under the proposal as submitted, what I'm currently paying with a minimum of $33 a month for 3,000 gallons will go to a minimum of $83, a minimum of $83 for 4,000 gallons. Now, as evidenced by my water bill from December, I'm already using more than twice 4,000 gallons. And I only have 2 children. I have a water-saving dishwasher, a water-saving washer and dryer. I shudder to think what my neighbors who have 4 and 5 kids and who don't have those modern appliances, I don't even want to ask them what they're paying in their water bills. Now, I think something else we've already heard tonight is about the $12 a month surcharge. It's on my water bill. I pay that as well. Commissioner Manuel, I understand, pays that as well.
Sure do.
It's for Vaseline.
I have a tremendous. I think you've heard from the folks who live on the mountain. I do not. The Meadowbrook community is not on the mountain. We're not one of the 3 impacted websites. I have tremendous sympathy for the folks who are on the mountain. Their problem doesn't need to be fixed. It has to be fixed. There's no question about that. It is a legitimate question, though, is how we pay for it and who carries the burden for that. Under the proposal, the burden is not spread to the whole county. With all due respect to Commissioner Surkamp, Commissioner Morgan, Commissioner Widmeyer, and if she was here, Commissioner Nolan, you aren't sharing in the burden. I'm sharing in the burden with just a relatively small amount of the county, the 25 or 2,700 users, whatever the number is, of Jefferson Utilities. What you're asking us to do is say, for people like myself in my community who live far, far away from the mountain, say, even though their water systems don't impact yours, even though your water system doesn't impact theirs, we're asking to double your water rates. But the people who live 50 yards away from you, who aren't on your water system, we're not going to touch their water rates. We're not going to spread the burden over the whole county. We're just going to spread the burden for the people who get their water from Jefferson Utilities. Now, I ask you, is that the way that we should address this issue? I suggest it's not. I suggest it's not. I think what you heard today earlier was from somebody who commented that the utility itself purchased these water systems. I don't know exactly when. I'm not an expert on the history, but I'm willing to bet when they purchased the water system, they did their due diligence. We're all business people to an extent. We understand that when we buy a home, when we buy a car, when we invest in a company, we do our research and we find out what it is we're buying. If Jefferson Utilities failed to do that, shame on them.
Mr. Ball, I'm gonna have to give you 30 seconds.
No, let him talk.
No,
That's
we'll have
unanimous.
we'll have a second round.
Okay. I think that the proposal as written cannot go forward. It's unfair to the current ratepayers of Jefferson Utilities. It's unfair to the people on the mountain who aren't assured of getting the actual healthiest water available. It is fair to one person, though. It's fair to the owner of Jefferson Utilities, and in fact, it's fair to the owner of Oak Meadows LLC. You know, when you look at this map, I'm sorry about that. And that's straight off the county commission website, the tax map. Everything in yellow are the lots owned by Oak Meadows LLC. All of those lots, under the proposal, would benefit and get water. And the owner of Oak Meadows LLC is the same gentleman who owns Jefferson Utilities. I think it's clear, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out the proposal as written only benefits one individual, and it is to the great detriment of all the Jefferson Utility customers, and candidly, to everybody on the mountain. And I urge you to reject it.
Let him talk.